And right now, you're not fit to be a husband. You want to be married, but you're not a wife. Before you get married, you should go through premarital counseling with a couple whose marriage you respect. All right, I want to share something with you that I hope encourages you, for those of you who are single, those of you who are dating, thinking about getting married, or those who are newly married, or even those who have been married longer, like longer than a few years, 5 years, 10 years. So my wife and I, we're in Paris right now celebrating our 21st wedding anniversary. So grateful to be here at this point in my life. And so I wanted to give you some wisdom with regard to marriage. Okay, so I see so many unhealthy messages about relationships and about marriage online, and it's frustrating to me because I know that bad advice is going to lead to an argument, to a dysfunctional relationship, to a broken marriage, to divorce, to damaged children, and it's going to ripple out into society. And so when I see messages about relationships and marriage given by people to me who in a lot of ways don't have the experience or the qualifications or the emotional maturity to deliver those messages, I feel like there's a need to offer a corrective. And so I just want to offer one corrective for so many people. For example, recently in the city of Atlanta, the mayor of the city officiated the weddings of, like, it was a group wedding kind of thing in Piedmont Park. I think hundreds of people came out, or hundreds of couples, or a lot of couples came out to get married in the park. Now, let me qualify this and say, I don't know what processes they went through to arrive at that park that day. I don't know if they went through premarital counseling. I don't know if there was a screening process before they decided to get married. And so I want to recommend that before you get married, you should go through premarital counseling with a couple whose marriage you respect, whose marriage inspires you, someone who has relationship goals. So when I was serving as the assistant pastor of a nice church in Chicago, and even before then, actually, when I was in seminary, I made the decision that I would not officiate the wedding of anyone who did not go through premarital counseling, because marriage is far too important to me and to the world and to society for people to go into it so lightly. Kids' lives are ruined because of bad marriages. People's lives are messed up because of bad marriages. And so I committed early that I would not officiate any weddings of people who did not go through premarital counseling with me or someone I recommended. And so I've turned down nearly every request for me to officiate weddings because people either didn't make time for premarital counseling, they just wanted me to officiate the wedding without me having anything to say about the actual relationship. And I tell people, like, a lot of people want to get married and then they drag Jesus into it, kicking and screaming. A lot of people want to get married but don't care about what God has to say about their marriage, don't care about what God's word has to say about their relationship, but they want a preacher to officiate their wedding. And so I tell them, I'm not rent-a-preacher. I'm not the preacher that you just rent and hire to come in and just bless your wedding and bless your nuptial. I'm not the guy. There's a bunch of preachers that you could hire and they'll endorse and do all that stuff with you. I'm not the one. So you go find those people. But for me, marriage is so important that it requires people to walk through a process of understanding what marriage is, conflict resolution, communication. How do you communicate? How do you deal with in-laws? How do you deal with friends? How do you deal with children? How do you handle money? How do you handle sex and intimacy, gender roles and expectations? And all of these things, to me, are so fundamental. Religion, religion? Do we believe the same God, the same religion? Do we believe and read the same book? Do we want the same things for our children? Do we want our children to believe what we believe? These are all really fundamental things. And so my wife and I, we have walked a couples through premarital counseling over these last couple years, and we were blessed. I was blessed to officiate the wedding of my dear brother Matt Bennett and his beautiful wife Marinyema, and they're happily married now. I think they're celebrating he's celebrating his birthday in Hawaii right now. She surprised him with the trip, and it was beautiful. We walked them through a very serious conversation, at least 6 meetings. We met more than that, of what marriage is and all of these other topics that we wish someone would have shared with us. Hard stuff, difficult conversations. And we just finished premarital counseling with another young couple, and we talked about some really heavy, hard, important stuff. And as a result, we saw them grow from where they were when they started to where they are now, in a much better place with much better habits, and I think with a much better foundation to have a happy, healthy marriage. So what's my word for you today, my friend? I don't recommend that you get married if you do not go through premarital counseling with someone, ideally a couple whose marriage you admire, you respect. Could be your pastor, could be a minister on your staff, could be an older couple that shares your values and your convictions, or who models the best of what you believe. I'm a Christian, and so I believe that you should go through premarital counseling with the minister that's going to officiate your wedding. Ideally, that's your pastor. Ideally, it's someone who knows you, but it doesn't have to be. But if you're going to ask that person to officiate your wedding, then that person should walk you through the process of what marriage is. A lot of people get divorced because they don't know what marriage is. A lot of people separate and fall out because they don't know what marriage is. They don't know what marriage is. And so they're jumping in, and as soon as things get hard, as soon as they have a major disagreement, as soon as money gets funny, as soon as someone gets sick, as soon as it's no longer fun, then they just back out, and they abandon the marriage, they abandon the person that they vowed to spend the rest of their lives with. It's because they did not take the time to lay the right foundation for their marriage. And so my word for you today, my friend, as I celebrate 21 years of marriage, is you should not get married if you do not go through premarital counseling with someone whose marriage you respect. Now, I've heard several men, and maybe I was one of them back in the day. Man, can't no man tell me nothing about my relationship. Ain't no human finna tell me whether or not he approves of my relationship. That's your prerogative. Ideally, for me, you should only ask someone you respect to officiate your wedding, someone you respect to give you premarital counseling, someone whose voice you value. That's the point. It's not just some stranger. If you've got to go through to some stranger to officiate your wedding, then I want to submit to you that you haven't spent enough time developing relationships with the ministers in your life or the other people that you want to officiate your wedding. But you can't drag Jesus into your relationship kicking and screaming. If you don't care about what God has to say about your relationship, then don't ask a preacher to officiate the wedding. So that's why I think a lot of people showed up at Piedmont Park. They don't want a preacher to do it. They want a city official to do it, which is fine. But still, the problem remains, do these people understand what marriage is? Are they committed to really being with that person? Do they know what commitment really is? Do they understand what the word divak means? Do they understand what leaving and cleaving means? Do they understand what sacrifice and altruism means? Do they understand, like, that marriage isn't just built on love, but it's built upon understanding. It's built upon healthy communication patterns. It's built on understanding the cultural background that influences your marriage. It's built upon you understanding your own expectations and your person's expectations of what marriage is. Whole lot of other stuff I'll share in another video. But as I celebrate my 21st wedding anniversary, I want to encourage you. I don't like anybody having their heart broken because of bad relationships. I believe God hates divorce because God hates what it does to those he loves. God loves us so much that he hates what divorce does to so many of us. It breaks our hearts, it breaks us down, and destroys many of our lives, ruins the lives of children, hurts creation, hurts communities, hurts neighborhoods, hurts the environments that we're in, man, with so much brokenness. And not to say you can't recover, and not to say you can't do it again and it be better the second time, because you probably learned from your mistakes from the first time. But if you don't go through premarital counseling, you'll just keep repeating those same mistakes, and you'll blame the other person for all the stuff that goes wrong. You get divorced, you find someone else. If you didn't correct it, you think it's someone else's problem, you get another divorce, and you start eventually to get humbled that, hey, maybe I don't have it all figured out. Maybe I need help. Maybe someone can speak into me. Maybe someone sees something in me that I don't see in myself. Maybe a man can see something, or a wife can see something in this young lady that she can't see in herself. Maybe this older man who's been married some time can see some things in me and point those things out to me and talk honestly with me about those things. That's what my wife and I have loved doing with the younger couples that we've mentored. And their relationships are beautiful, man. We love spending time with them. We love, more importantly, watching them enjoy marriage, watching them enjoy each other, watching them work through challenges, watching them like handle conflict and the way they address these differences. I mean, it's wonderful to see that they've picked up some habits and some practices and some techniques and some strategies to really develop and become one, or work to become one. My father-in-law says he was married 62 years, and he and his wife never really became one in terms of being the same person. He said, but they worked really hard at it. So you may never really become one, but you can work to become united in your efforts, right? Find someone to help you. Find someone to mentor you. If you're a couple that is married that is struggling in your marriage, find you an older couple and ask them to help you. Ask them to have, if they're willing to have some private, confidential conversations with you about your relationship. Maybe they can speak into you. Maybe they can identify some of your communication problems, some of your conflicts. Maybe they can help you correct some of those things. When my wife and I have sat with these young couples, we've seen some things in them that we were able to point out. And something going on outside. We were able to point out some things in them. I was able to see some things in the young man and the young women. And my wife was able to see some things in the young man and the young women, and be able to speak into them and encourage them and offer another perspective. We are not perfect examples. We're just trying to be living examples of what it means to follow God, to live for Jesus, to love one another, to raise our children, to create an environment in which our children can flourish, and to be a light and a blessing to people around us. Okay? So we've mentored these younger couples. That's part of our ministry. That's part of my anointing. I love helping people find and develop and cultivate healthy relationships, loving marriages, because I am the product of several broken marriages, and I saw what it did to my mother. I saw what it did to the men. I saw what it did to me and my brothers. And as a result, man, I don't want anyone else to experience the pain or the heartbreak or the dysfunction that comes from divorce or unhealthy relationships, toxic relationships, right? So find you someone, a couple ideally. And I say a couple because in most pastors, they'll either provide the counseling themselves and their wives are not involved. But for me, I love that my wife is willing to sit with me as we mentor young couples, because she's an encyclopedia of wisdom, and she as a woman can see some things in the young ladies and in the young men that I can't see, and she can speak to them in a way that they can receive maybe better than they could receive it for me, because I'm a man and I might not understand, and I get that. There's some things that I only can hear or receive from a man. Now I'm open to hearing from a woman if she's right and if I feel like she gets me. So when you have a couple that you look up to, that you respect, whose marriage you value, ask them to mentor you. Ask them to speak into you. Ask them if they'd be willing to once a month connect with you, once a quarter, to just help you think through some things, to just check in, and you be honest with that couple, and ask them to be honest with you, brutally honest with you, if they see something that is a red flag that could hurt you or your relationship. Okay, so I'm Dr. Manny Scott, and I just want to mentor you, encourage you, and hopefully help you lay the right foundation for your relationships, so you don't go down this long road and waste 5, 10, 20, 15 years of your life with someone and it doesn't last and it doesn't work. Okay, I care about you, and I've seen several people I love go through divorces, and I hate what it's done to them and how it's hurt them. Seeing them hurt has hurt me, so I'm feeling led to be more intentional about speaking into young couples, speaking into young men, my wife speaking into young women, and of course I like to speak into young women who can receive what I have to say. But I want to raise up some lions, some men who are leaders, who are providers, who are protectors, who are praying for their families, who are providing, who are prophet, who are speaking in to the lives of their children and their wives, and then helping women become the best wives and women they can be, and perhaps mothers they can be to their children. But I'll let my wife speak into that part when time permits. All right. Thank you for listening. Please be sure to like this video, share it with someone that you know who's thinking about getting married, who's in a relationship and they're struggling, or someone who is single and you want them to lay the right foundation. Premarital counseling is fundamental, right? And if you ever want me to officiate your wedding, then you got to go through premarital counseling with me. And it's not guaranteed that we're going to make it through the premarital counseling. I'll say that. If I see something that cannot be fixed or corrected, or if I don't feel led to officiate the wedding, I'll tell you whenever I see it and say, I'm not the person for you. I don't think your marriage is going to make it because of X, Y, and Z. And if you're not willing to work through this, then you're not going to make it, in my opinion. Find someone else to do it. But I care too much about you to sit here and lie to you, right? To sit here and act like I don't see what I see. I want to help you, and right now you're not fit to be a husband. I would tell her not to marry you right now if this doesn't change in you, or vice versa. I tell him that you are not a wife. You want to be married, but you're not a wife. You want a wedding, but you don't want to be a wife. And so you're setting yourself up for divorce, for misery, for frustration. Y'all are going to feel trapped in this relationship. I don't want that to happen for you. So that's why I provide premarital counseling with my wife. I'm not opening that up to you. I have to know you and see you in person and have the time on my schedule to do that, because it's an investment. My wife and I invest a lot of time into young couples. So don't ask me to offer that to you. I'm not available to you, but I'm recommending you find someone in your life to do that for you, because it's going to help you. Okay, so like, share, subscribe to this channel, please, and I'll check in with you later. Have an amazing day.